All right, so let's begin on the dorsal aspect, because that's usually, again, basic stuff here. So much like we see with the shark, we have well-developed segmentation in our axial musculature. We have our myosepta showing very nicely, and between them the myomeres. Again, we have a horizontal sclatogenous septum that divides up our myomeres into a dorsal group called the epaxials and a ventral group called the hypaxials. But now with the Mudpuppy, we have a little bit more division of hypaxials and epaxials. And so the group here are collectively called the dorsalis trunci. And here, of course, we have the outer layer of the abdominal wall, much like you see in kitty cat, that's the external abdominal oblique. So this group of hypaxials are also referred to as external abdominal oblique. Looking at the thigh, we have three muscles here that are tiny, and it's going to take a little bit of work to get this all in position for you, I'm sorry. All right, so we have three muscles here. 1, 2, and then 3. Use this little well in here between the ischioflexors and our three ilios. So the back one, iliofibularis, then ilioextensoris, and then the front one, iliotibialis, TEF. Iliotibialis, ilioextensoris, and again, iliofibularis. Then we're on our ischioflexors, our hamstring-like arrangement. Okay, coming up here, I think this side showed it very nicely. Actually, let me get a dissect the needle real quick. Pin these gills back. There we go. So, here we can see the pectoral girdle from a dorsal view. This muscle here is the latissimus dorsi. It only inserts on the fascia of the dorsalis trunci. Here we see the dorsalis scapulae, which is homologous to the deltoid. And then anterior to that, we have our cucularius, which is homologous to the trapezius and amniotes. Here we see a very distinct procoracohumerales coming off the procoracoid cartilage onto the humerus. Behind it, looking like a smaller version of it, and then a lot of times we can all see that depending on the angle, but this one is on this side, is our ulmo-arcural. We're not worried about that one as much for this exam. Here we see our humero-antebrachialis, which is homologous to the biceps brachii, and here we see a well-developed triceps muscle. Medial, we have one muscle in here. Medial to the humero-antebrachialis is the coracobrachialis, which is homologous to your coracobrachialis. One of the hardest homologies to remember. Here on the neck, we have our rectus cervicus. We have our two pectoral muscles. We have our supracoracoideus, looking just like the coracoid plate it's sitting on. And then caudal to that, kind of V-shaped, is our pectoralis. Here we have on the underside of the head, we have our intermandibularis. Note the fiber pattern. And then our interhyoideus here. If we cut and reflect that, there are two muscles we're going to see here. Not very well cut and reflected, but a large muscle here that moves the gills called the branchiohyoid. And then this muscle here that goes from the inner aspect of the dentary onto the hyoid called geniohyoid. Genio referring to the inner aspect of the mandible or dentary. All right, so on this side, looking at the thighs, right here we have a V-shaped muscle, pubo-ischiofemoralis externus. Then out here on the outside, we have our pubo-ischiofemoralis internus. And the names sound backwards, but that's correct. Here's our pubotibialis. And then here, these aren't fully separated. Let's see. But this larger muscle we got coming off here, there it is. There's the pubo-ischiotibialis. And this one hanging off, a bit like hamstrings would hang off of your thigh, is the ischioflexors we saw from the other side. So let's do this one again because this gets really confusing. These muscle names are hard to remember, but origin insertion questions are great with them. Pubo-ischiofemoralis externus, pubo-ischiofemoralis internus, pubotibialis, pubo-ischiotibialis, and then finally hanging off again like a hamstring, ischioflexors. Okay, and then I think all we've got left now is the head. Okay, so here we have the external mandibular levator. Here's our anterior mandibular levator. All right. And then here on the side, we have our mandibular adductor. That's it.